Right, let's begin. It's well hot in this room. Does anyone see like a thermostat anywhere? That looks complicated. Bottom. Right, we're all just going to have to swelter and die. Okay, so if you are here to study something other than social media cultures, can you put your hand up, please? No, you're all here in the right place? That's a good start, at least. So I count by head count, there are 41 people here. There should be 60 people here in total. The next person who speaks over me is going to get fucked up. So, see, lose my train of thought. First things first. There are 20 people who haven't read the module guide yet, and there are 20 people not here. So I'm going to conveniently think that those 20 people who couldn't find the room are also the 20 people who couldn't find their way to the Canvas site to read the module handbook. However, if that isn't the case, you have until 10 AM tomorrow to read the module handbook. I know this because I checked the statistics on it earlier to see who had read it and who hadn't. But only 15 people have given me evidence that they have read it. There is something that you have to do in order to show that you have read it. In fact, I can look around the room and I can already see some people who haven't read it but who are here as well. So, that is your task for immediately after this lecture finishes. If you have not read the module guide, I want you to read the module guide immediately. There is no messing around on this module, unfortunately. You will begin the assignment number 1 tomorrow. Okay? So, you need to be prepared. That means you are up to date right from the first minute. That means I expect a slew of emails between now and 10 AM tomorrow morning showing me that you have completed the task of reading the module guide. Because when you get to the last page of the module guide, it will tell you what you need to complete the task. Are we all good so far? Excellent. On that topic, I have asked via a message last week, so can we have show of hands, how many of you got the message that I sent out last week? 2. Seriously? Oh, that's exciting. So, how do you access messages sent by your lecturers? Do you? What's the thing that everyone fucking goes on about all the time in this university that you have to be on constantly? Begins with a C, is intensely badly designed, it's got the UX capabilities of like a wet paper bag. Yeah, Canvas. There is a message waiting in your inbox in Canvas about this module. So, task number 2 today. Go on to Canvas, open your inbox and read the tasks which you have been sent, not last Monday, but the Thursday before that, in order to do for this week. For today, in fact. If you have Canvas installed on your phone, you would have had a ping. But most people don't have Canvas installed on their phone, which is fine. I can't tell you what to do with your lives, but you know, most people have TikTok installed on their phone, and that doesn't seem to bother them too much, spending 8 hours a day trawling through shit on their For You pages. Maybe 2 seconds on Canvas might be enough for them. So, task 2, go into your inbox on Canvas and see what it is you're going to have to do. That, you will get a message via that system every Tuesday afternoon from this point onwards, telling you what is happening the week afterwards. So from tomorrow onwards, you will be primed for the week coming up. Thirdly, on Canvas itself, there are some things which you need to do for this module. So, if I go on to it here, this is how it should look to somebody. Module guide is here, which I've asked you all to read. You will all need to access this document, but don't worry about it for now, because that's going to be the focus of the seminars tomorrow. On that, have you all been allocated a seminar group? Excellent. Do you all know where you're going? Superb. You're not going to some random space right across the campus, which no one's ever been into before, which is excellent. In here as well, there's a big reading folder with all the text that you need for this module. There's a set of external links. If you miss lectures or you just want to go ahead with things, is all the module recordings from the past in this playlist, but they're not the same as this year, they have changed, so you won't be getting exactly the same stuff. This guide here becomes relevant when you do assignment 1, for most people, not everyone, but most people, and that just takes you to the university reading list for it, which everything is dumped in that folder. That folder of module reading is actual books that are in there, which, out of the goodness of my heart, I provide for you for free. Albeit, just don't tell anyone I do that, because it is copyright infringement and I will get sacked. So just you've got summaries of assessment here, and here we've got some surveys to complete, and it says fairly clearly on here, you must do these. Can everyone see that? Are we all good? You see the bit that it says, you must do these? 16 people have done these so far. That means that nobody is taking, only 16 people have paid attention to the you must do these bit. Which kind of makes sense because it was in the message that I sent the other week. So, by 10 AM tomorrow, I would like you to complete all these surveys, please. This will take a total for all 7 of those, 10 minutes? Maybe. They're mostly just point and click. Connor, I see you're losing the will to live already. Yeah, whatever. Manner. So, and there you have each week following on. Do we have any questions? No? Superb. Okay, great. So now we're ready to begin. Oh, no, we're not quite ready to begin. This is the textbook I recommend to everyone for this course. It's called Social Media Age. It's by Zoe Tanya Zujat. I know a lot about this book because I was one of the reviewers for it when it was being published by Sage. It is available from all good bookstores, but as you can all see, I have a copy right here with me. Do we all see this? If anyone would like to buy this copy off me, it will cost them £10. It isn't mine, and I'm not profiting from it. This is former students' copy, they've given it to me to sell. So I promise I will PayPal them the money when somebody gives it to me. If somebody would like this copy of this book, they are welcome to buy it off me for £10. And it will go to Jess. It will not go to my drinking fund with William Merrin, which usually gets spent on Tuesday. So, everyone take a deep breath. Look like I'm showing you. Everyone take a deep breath. Unless you've got like breathing problems. Go on and end up masks or something. You do what you have to do. Okay, are we all ready? Good, excellent. So, we begin with a question. What is social media? Somebody tell me.
Communication.
What was that?
Communication.
A communication tool, number 1. A communication tool. That's a good start. What does that mean? Interaction with others. Excellent. Social media, therefore, is a tool that we use to interact with other people. Okay, so why then are we studying it in a media studies degree? Oh, these are not hard questions. Everyone is like, God, what's going on? Okay, what else can social media be? Good. I was hoping this would happen. So, can you all take your phones out, please? Excellent. Good. Those of you who haven't already started doom scrolling during the middle of the lecture, can you please do me 2 questions, please? First question, can you count how many apps you have on your phone that you would count as social media for one? And then just make a note of that number. And then secondly, I would like you to go into your phone settings and go into screen time, and I would like you in the screen time part of your phone settings, if anyone doesn't know how to do this. I'm sure there's somebody around you who can help you out with this, okay? Go into your settings, go into your screen time, and I want you to look at your 3 most used social media apps. Yeah, apps and websites. So you haven't even got it turned on. Okay. Fucking hell. I didn't even know phones gave you that option anymore. How old is that iPhone? Okay. Anyway, I want you to write down or take a note on your device how much screen time you use for your 3 most used social media apps.
You've got a full day in 24 days.
YouTube for social media, I don't really use that. Technically social media apps, and I can't
That's just because I run it in the background. You've got 2 hours.
We have to put up the survey, so we're supposed to have had a message about it.
You've got addiction.
Mine's like 7 hours. Yours first.
What did we fucking go on? I know, he couldn't find it. Later. The thermostat's behind you. Oh no, that's not mine.
It was a valiant effort.
That's plugged into
That's the carbon monoxide meter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That fills you with a lot of confidence about buildings. Okay, are we good? Excellent. So, by a show of hands, just follow my numbers. If you've only got 1 social media app on your phone, please raise your hand. 2? Just 2. Excellent. What have we got?
Snapchat and Instagram.
Good stuff. You haven't fallen down the crack cocaine route. 3. We've got a few people with 3. What do you have?
Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat.
Excellent. 4. What you got?
Instagram, TikTok, Be Real on Facebook.
Be Real. Oh, you don't still use Be Real, do you?
Yes.
I didn't even realise Be Real was still a thing. 5.
I've got Be Real, Snapchat, Instagram. I don't know if Pinterest and YouTube.
Yeah,
count.
Pinterest counts and YouTube
Yeah.
counts, yeah. 6. What we got?
Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok, Discord,
Discord, nice.
Facebook Messenger, and Be Real.
Excellent. Facebook Messenger definitely counts. 7. 8. 9. Is there anyone in here who can't count, by the way? That's a big point. So I've only seen like about 4 or 5 hands, so this doesn't make any sense to me. How many have you got? 10, 11. Oh my god, right, it's me not me. This is not me in my Okay, how many? 13. Okay. How many? 10. 10. 10. Okay, right, let's simplify this. 10. Anyone got 10? We've got a few here. 11. 12. Okay, now we're getting into the points of absurdity. 13.
Yeah, but I don't know what counts as.
Well, what do you think counts, Lauren?
Reddit is a count.
Yes, of course it is. Yeah.
Oh, I'm over 10.
Over 10.
It's like, I don't know, I've got loads.
Okay. Alright, okay. Anyone above what they would think 50? No? Okay, right. I'm starting to get a picture of stuff here. So, a communications tool, social media, right? But it sounds to me, consensually from the room, that most people have somewhere, with some notable exceptions, somewhere between 7 to 12 apps used for communication. Is there anyone in this room that doesn't have WhatsApp installed? Excellent. Anyone who doesn't have Instagram? Interesting. What about Snapchat? Anyone who's not got Snapchat? Me. Because I'm like 40 odd years old. 40 odd year old men who have Snapchat and not. You don't?
No.
I'm really glad to hear that, Bill. Okay. If social media is a tool for communicating with others, why do we need 12 of them?
They all do different things.
Ah, they all do different things. Different kinds of communication. Okay, important. So now we start moving on with how we think about social media. Social media isn't one thing. What we have are social media platforms, and they all do different things. And the character of each of those platforms is different. Now, there's a very simple way of understanding this. Picture yourself tonight. Okay, everyone got a picture in their head? Tonight. Okay? You're going to create 2 images of yourself. One for Snapchat, one for Instagram. What's different? What's different between those 2 things? How do they differ? Yeah.
Different audiences.
Like, how do you mean?
So, like, for example, if I was posting a story on Snapchat, I would have it on a private story with
Okay.
about 15 people. Whereas if I posted on my Instagram, 140 maybe people see it. Or like that's how many followers I would have.
Okay. Would that change how you take the image?
Probably, yeah.
In what way?
I think if I was taking a photo, I'd probably be a bit more picky about Instagram.
Ah. Would you apply filters?
I wouldn't say filters, but I'd think about how I was taking a photo.
Would you take more than one photo
Probably.
and then look through them to see which one is the best one?
Yeah, but I don't mean like hundreds, like maybe like 5.
But there are people who take hundreds. We know this, right? There are people in this room who take hundreds. It's okay, by the way, that's fine. It's not belittling people or anything like that. I had someone a couple of years ago who did a video, which you can find on the playlists of all the assignments, by the way, which is a really good video. But her process for taking a selfie for Instagram involved taking over 100 shots each time. It was basically, we worked it out, it took her an hour to take a picture. She would sit there, and her video that she did for me was a video of her doing her routine to get ready to take a Instagram picture. And she had to put the actual footage in 4 times speed to get it into the time frame that I gave her of 12 minutes to hand in the video. Because it took over 40 minutes for her to get ready to take a selfie. And you're like, okay, Beth, that's really extreme, I thought at the time. No way. That's actually pretty normal behaviour. So, different platforms have different ways of communication. They have different tenors of communication. We have different ways of using each. How do you understand the difference?
What do you mean by that?
Did you read a book
No.
about how to do this?
No.
The trend.
No.
Follow
What does that mean?
The trend, like what people usually do, then we follow.
So we consume content on the platform, and that informs us of what to do on the platform, and then we repeat what happens. Consuming content, repeating it becoming normal, that's called culture. That's how culture works. This is basically how you've been socialized as human beings. You have been dumped with no explanation on this planet. Did any of you ask to be born? Did any of you apply to be born?
Maybe.
No, you didn't. So you were just shoved here, right? Wasn't your decision, you know? I was very unfortunate that I got shoved to grow up in the valleys. It's like, I was screaming at my parents when I was in utero, fucking move to Paris. But no, they stay in the valleys, right? And so I'm shoved there. And then that becomes my culture. that's what I experience, and that's what I repeat. That's why I'm completely unsophisticated and covered in ridiculous tattoos. Because it's my culture. Your culture is you've been born and then shoved something like this in front of you, and you learn, and you repeat, and it becomes the cultural form by which you understand the world and communicate with the world. So all of a sudden, we've gone from a communications tool to something much, much bigger. This isn't just a communications tool, because it's not only communicating that we're doing with it. We're understanding other people, we're understanding ourselves, we're understanding the wider context of the world in which we exist in, we're understanding what our culture is and how we perform that culture. And that's what makes social media special, is because we perform culture through it. Television, newspapers, radio, cinema, the old forms of media, and I hate anyone uses the terms old media and new media in an essay or a video, I'm going to instantly fail you, okay? Any lecturer that uses new media, you have my permission, if they ever utter the phrase new media, to take your laptop, this piece of new media, and smash them around the head with it. Because you can't, do you know if I went into a car showroom, right, and the guy says, I'm going to sell you a new car, and he's like, when was it released? 1960. Yeah, that's not a new car, you piece of shit. What are you talking about? That is like 60 years old. New isn't 60 years old. But this form of media has completely transformed culture itself, because we are not just recipients of this culture. We also perform that culture back. So next time you post on social media, think about, how did you learn to do that? What gave you the rules? Because you don't have rules which tell you how to do things on Snapchat. No? But you understand. You don't have rules about Instagram, about why Instagram is the platform where you put your best self forward. You don't put minging pics up on Instagram. Well, does it say that in Instagram's terms of service? I mean, I've read them. I can't see anything in them that says you have to put your best pictures up on Instagram. You cannot look like a skank, because it doesn't say that anywhere. But we understand implicitly the rules of what goes on. Now, those rules don't just become rules for using the platform, but they become rules for how we live. By a show of hands again, how many of you in this room have gone to a restaurant or a place just to take a picture of it or something you have there for Instagram? You fucking liars. Let's stop lying for a moment. How many of you done it just for the gram?
Not specifically for that.
But
like if you go to, if I went to a restaurant and I had a nice plate of food, I would go and take a picture of it.
and then you're going to put it on Instagram.
Yeah, but I wouldn't post it. I'd put it on my story.
Okay, same thing as far as I'm concerned. Why? Why do that? Has anyone else done? Really? I genuinely don't believe people at this point.
I feel like it's only because you end up posting something after it's happened, or at least that's for me, rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna go there, do that just for it.
But when you're there, you do it and then post it afterwards.
Yeah, well, if say for instance you go on a night out, you're gonna take a photo and then be like, oh, that's a nice photo, maybe I'll post it.
Well, let's just deconstruct that statement first of all. When you go on a night out, you're going to take a photo. Really? Let's just unpack that statement, because you've just perfectly illustrated what I'm talking about. The presence of platforms like Instagram and Snapchat in our lives primes us to think, oh, I'm going on a night out, I'm going to take a photo of it. If they didn't exist, you wouldn't be taking the photo of it, I can assure you.
But what about like memories?
We've got a thing called a brain which does that, you know, it does work. I come from that time long ago when no camera phones existed and people didn't take photos when you went on a night out, and That's all I'm not going to get into any further. But the presence of social media as not just a tool for communication, but a cultural form informs our behaviour. We will be primed to take images of things because we are informed by it that, you know, interesting, cool images go on this platform or this platform or this platform. Yeah. But that's not just what social media is about today. Now, let's go back to the screen time. Who has got Instagram as their most used app? Okay, there's a few. Good. What about Snapchat? Just a couple. What about TikTok? A few. Okay. Of those of you, does everyone use TikTok, by the way? No, there's some who don't. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? TikTok screen time. Does anyone have more than 8 hours in a week? TikTok screen time. How much? 11 hours a week. That's less than me. Those are amateur hours as far as I'm concerned. that is what a week. Anyone got more than 12 hours? What you got? 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week, people. How much? 19. Okay. Do we have any advance on 20 hours in a week? People might be calculating this by the day. So if you have more than 3 hours a day, that is more than 20 hours a week. Do we have anyone that goes over 20 hours on TikTok a week? Congratulations, you win the prize. Biggest procrastinator in the room. It's standing. Why? What you watch? Just the For You page, and what usually comes up on your For You page? Food? Anything else? 20 hours of food? That's okay. Can anyone tell me what comes up on their For You page? Like a coherent answer to that question. Shit. Shit. That's about as close as we're going to get to a coherent answer, I think. So, 20 hours a week on one application. Maybe a little bit extreme. But it's not that out of the realms of seriousness. But let's say you put in a bit more effort and got it up to 24 hours. That's a whole day of a week spent on TikTok. And of course, we're not counting things like sleeping, eating, talking to other people. Do you make content on TikTok? Fabulous. Do you contact other people via TikTok? With the exception of sending videos to other people. No, you don't message people on it, or you don't make content. Do you leave comments?
No.
Do you drop likes? So
Yeah.
Okay. So the only form of engagement, therefore, on a 20-hour binge on TikTok per week is leaving likes and forwarding videos to other people. Click of a button here, click of a button there, right? Is that a communications tool?
Yes.
Is it? Who are you communicating with?
About we connect with the other users on TikTok. So it's a communication tool.
In what way are you communicating?
And then if we comment, we will reply to you, and then it's a
But
communication.
she's not commenting. There's no comments being left. It's just likes and sending people videos.
I think.
No, nothing verbal, right? No verbal communication whatsoever.
I think send people videos is also in a way to communicate.
I agree. I think sending people a video and communicating what it is that we're doing at that point in time is a form of communication, but I think it's a limited form of communication.
The video is communicating to you. You're not communicating with it, it's communicating something to you, no?
Partially, I agree. I partially agree, but I'll move it on from why that is now. TikTok to me seems like the start of a new phase of social media altogether. The vast majority of people who use TikTok don't use it as a communications tool anyway. They just use it to consume content. So if we consider TikTok to be a social media platform, it is social media as entertainment. Now, other platforms are like this. Certainly Instagram is a tool for entertainment, but it is also a tool by which we can heavily communicate with other people as well. But we're starting to see the development of what we call a continuum of social media use here, where you have communication on one end, apps like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, etc., where communication is heavily the usage of those tools. And on the other end, apps like TikTok, where it's entertainment is the purpose. You have like an entertainment communication continuum developing on social media apps. What's interesting to me is that we're spending more and more time at that end of the spectrum and less time at that end of the spectrum. And so the use of social media in society is not fixed. It is always continually changing and moving as things go forward. There is no one use of social media, and there is no one way of using social media, and our use of it is contingent on the platform we use and what we're using it for. But we seem to be, as a society, moving away from communicating via it into being entertained by it. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Who knows how it's going to shake out?
You mentioned earlier YouTube as a form of social media.
Absolutely.
And accepting the length of the video, how is that any different to TikTok? Considering that YouTube
I don't really think it is. I don't particularly think it is. Albeit, I think the ideas of commenting on YouTube are far more established. And the interface in YouTube encourages you to look at that material a lot more than the interface on TikTok. So it's a presentation thing rather than a structural thing. Because you're right, with the exception of the length of videos, pretty much does the same job, you know? I'd say there's a big difference in the types of content on the two apps as well, the two services, and I think YouTube is for a different audience. You know, you go to YouTube to search for some things, you wouldn't necessarily do that on TikTok as well. But that kind of depends on your aims of what you want to use them for anyway, what your personal aims are in that case. Okay, I am cognizant of the fact this is a new record for me. It's 35 minutes into the lecture and I haven't gone to the first slide yet. This is impressive even by my standards of procrastination. So why don't we actually begin the lecture this way? This camera has been recording the screen. So those who haven't attended, well, let's be fair, those who haven't attended, I don't know if I can watch this anyway, are they? So, you know, it's one of the great myths of Swansea University that we have to record all our lectures for Schrodinger's student. They don't come and they don't fucking watch them. So what's the point in doing any of it? How do we define social networks? Well, we can go back to the classic definition. The definition that you'll see in every book and in every time you try and search for it is by Dana Boyd and Nicole Ellison, and it comes from 2007. Let's note the date first of all. 2007, what are we talking, 17 years ago, right? Out of date, but still includes some important things. They define social network sites as web-based services. That bit's out of date. Social network sites no longer exist on what we call the World Wide Web. They are application-based, nearly always. You might access a few things. I watch YouTube, weirdly, via a browser, because I find it less annoying than the app, because I refuse to pay for premium. And when ads come on the app, they really annoy me, and I don't want to break my phone, because it costs a lot to replace. I don't mind breaking the university's computer, because I'll just take it back and say, yeah, look, it was an accident that my foot went through the screen. Get me a new one. What do social networking sites do? They allow individuals to construct a public or semi-public profile within a bounded system. That still exists. That is something that we use social network sites. And now, for those of you who were thinking, right, I've got 11, 12 social networking apps on my phone, think about anything that allows you to construct a profile in a bounded system. Now you can expand it outwards. People won't think, for example, of something like Hinge being a social networking app. Well, if you look at these rules, it is. You construct a profile, you articulate a list of other users in which they share a connection, and view and traverse their list of connections and those made by others within the system. So, any sort of service by which we construct a profile, can link with others, and can view content and what others do on that system, counts as a social network. It's part of social media. So then you're blowing it up, basically. So somebody asked earlier, is Pinterest? Oh, hell yeah, Pinterest is. Because you just think, does it meet this criteria? Yeah. You construct a profile, you can link with others, you can do this, that, and the other. Even something like Etsy would count. Redbubble would count. You know, sites like this. So, what makes social network sites unique is not that they allow individuals to meet strangers, but rather that they enable users to articulate and make visible their social networks. The old thinking about social media was it's a way of getting out into the world and meeting different people and so on, but we don't use it to do that. Nobody. If people are going out there and using Instagram to meet complete randoms, have a word with yourself. Don't do that. Randoms are random. They could be anyone. Don't do that shit. Talk to the people you know. What Boyd and Ellison are pointing out here is a very important point, which I will come to in a later slide as well. But social media extends our networks of people we know. We don't tend to go beyond those networks. You might link with friends of friends, for example. You don't know that well, but there's still a clear line of who belongs to that network. But we don't make vast networks of people we don't know. There are some exceptions to that. For some unbeknownst reason to me, I have like 2,500 followers on Twitter, right? I don't know hardly any of these people. They have read something, I've probably been bitching about something on it, right? And they've read it and decided to follow me. But it's the only instance I can think of a network which is kind of decentralized in that way, when loads of people can follow you without really knowing who you are. It's very rare for that to happen. So, participants are not necessarily networking or looking to meet new people. They're primarily communicating with people who are already part of their extended social network. So, what does social media do? It takes the web and the network of people that we have in everyday life and implants it into the digital. So if you like, it augments social connections with digital technology. What does digital technology allow us to do? In an essence, it allows us to communicate with people instantaneously. So it cuts friction in communication. We will have a web of people that we know, but via social media we can communicate with some or all of those people in an instant, rather than having to use other traditional ways of doing so. Create a social media, if I had a really funny joke, I'd have to tell people that joke. It's ridiculous if you get a joke by the time you get to can you meet me at 7 o'clock? I've got a joke to tell you. What? Fuck off. I'm busy. Now, I can put it on Instagram. And people are like, oh my god, yeah, that's not fun. I don't even know why I'm connected to that twat. It's not fun at all. So, this is the key way that we think of what social media are. By these set of rules, we can then start to delineate how many services we use which fit this criteria. That means, this will become more apparent tomorrow, but when you come in to do your projects for me, it gives you quite a range of stuff that you can actually talk about. How important is social media in today's context? Does anyone want to hazard a guess of how much overall internet traffic is social media traffic?
12 hours.
By a percentage.
12 hours.
No, percentage of the total.
Oh, I think it's 50%.
50% more? It's not far off actually. It's about 60% total. 60% of total traffic on the internet is traffic for social media. If we look at some of the figures, this is taken from 2023, right? Look at some of the different social media that are on here. This is just in an average minute in the year 2023. So what do we have? 360,000 tweets a minute. And let's be honest, since Elon Musk has taken over, that's become a lot less popular. But that's still a phenomenal number per minute. That means 3.6 million every 10 minutes. That means, roughly speaking, what, 20 million every hour? So 480 million a day. I'm not going to go on because my notification is going to get slower as we go on, right? WhatsApp. 41.6 million messages per minute on WhatsApp. I'm not getting into the multiplication on that one, right? LinkedIn. Does anyone have LinkedIn? Oh my god. LinkedIn is so depressing. LinkedIn reminds me, that you guys might be a bit young for this, right? But you might have had parents that did this. People like back in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, they used to have like things on their belts to put their phone in, like little leather like pouches. That's what LinkedIn reminds me of, right? It is grim and beyond belief. It's just a bunch of wankers on there going, look at what I've achieved this week. It's like, I don't fucking care what to get them. And those things that people put around, ready to work, what, unemployed? Fuck you. No. If anyone, no, I have to have a LinkedIn account because we're told to have one for work. It was updated about 8 years ago. A picture of me is like ridiculous. No. 6,000 resumes a minute submitted on LinkedIn. Anyone who submits me a resume on LinkedIn, delete from my life. Instagram users send 694,000 reels via direct message. Why? Why would anyone send somebody a reel via direct message? Well, lots of people do. What else we got on here? Twitch users watch 48,000 hours of content per minute. How many Twitch users do we have in the room? Yeah, you can always tell by the lack of tap. So, people send 241 million emails per day. That's something that people could think about. But the one I'm really interested in is right at the bottom there. The average person produces 102 megabits of data per minute. Why do you think that's the one that draws my eye? Any ideas? Okay, I'm glad nobody's answered that question because the entirety of this module will be about answering that question. Why that's important. The average person produces 102 megabits of data per minute. And you're doing it right now. This device is producing data this instant and I haven't even unlocked it. It is continually churning out data about me, about what I'm doing at this point in time, even if what I'm doing is nothing. That is the economics of social media. Producing data to be sold to advertisers. And we are doing it every minute of every day. Producing a fair amount of data every minute. Fans stream a Taylor Swift song 69,000 times a minute, and of course, because Taylor is amazing. Facebook users like 4 million posts per minute. I don't know who's left on Facebook, but they're doing a hell of a lot of liking. 3,720 users download Instagram threads per minute. Who the hell is downloading threads off Instagram? Oh my god, I don't even know what's going on there. And viewers watch 43 years worth of content across different platforms. So every minute of the day, 43 years worth of content is being watched. This is largely the power of TikTok to get into our lives. It's mad, right? The quantities here are vast. Why is any of this important? Well, It appears to me that our social media applications on our phone, the 10, 11 applications we have on our phone that count as social media, dominate our lives. What we do with our lives on a daily basis, a lot of it is engaging with these services and consuming that information or communicating through them. This makes it incredibly significant. Far more so than film. You know, we make a big deal in this department. You know, we've got a really cool film studies thing going on in our department, journalism. Yeah, everyone needs to do journalism. Why? Who fucking cares? How many people are like, you know, do you think there's 43 years worth of journalism being consumed every minute? I don't think so. That's not happening. What's actually happening is we're all doing this. And yet we receive we pay scant attention to that. But social media is dominating one key thing that we all have, but we all have in less and less amount each year. Does anyone want to tell me what this commodity is? So important to understanding what you are going to learn over the next 10 weeks.
Privacy.
No, let's get the myth of privacy out of the way for the first instance. There is no such thing as privacy. Privacy doesn't exist.
Attention.
Thank you, sir. Write it down. Attention. What is the key commodity in today's world? Attention. Where your eyes and ears are at is what people want to have. That is the key thing. And these are the things which are dominating our attention. Our attention has, if you like, been stolen by big corporations with big platforms who are monetizing it via our construction of data for them. But the thing that they have taken from us is attention. So when somebody says to you, pay attention, say, you pay me for attention, bitch. I'm already paying you attention. Social media has been around for a long time. We can chart the beginning of social media back to around 1978, with the first construction of bulletin boards using the internet. Now the internet was a very much marginal communications technology back in 1978. You had to have an extensive amount of technical skills to access the internet back then in the 70s. You had to have a lot of money as well, because computer equipment was incredibly expensive. But the bulletin board system, a system where you could simply leave a message and other people would respond to that message, it's kind of the foundational aspect of how all social media sites still work today. You leave content, other people respond to that content, or consume that content. Really, since that point onwards, we have a couple of key years, I would argue. Key year number one is 2004. 2004 is the year where Facebook launched. There were some social media sites around before Facebook, but Facebook became the behemoth. I don't know, usage of it has dropped off considerably. But usage of the services of the company, Facebook, which is now called Meta, have not dropped off. In fact, they've got more and more as time has gone on, because it's acquired other services like Instagram and WhatsApp. So, although we might not use Facebook, we use Meta more than we ever did before. Another key year would be, I'd say, 2012, where we start to see consolidation. Instead of having lots of different services, you start to have 2 or 3 major players in the field. And the interesting thing, I was going to do a whole lecture about Meta / Facebook, right? But the interesting thing about that is that they have 2 tactics. They will either buy you, or they will steal your ideas. So, has anyone ever noticed how like everything on Instagram is the same as everything on Snapchat? Yeah, because they just nicked their ideas. They just looked at it and thought, well, they tried to buy Snapchat, and it's like Snapchat said no. It's just okay, well, we're just going to steal everything you've got. It's like Threads is exactly the same as Twitter, right? And stuff like that. So, lots of social media have existed, but most of them now don't exist. They get consolidated into the bigger companies, which means you have 2 or 3 major companies which dominate the entire field. Unsurprisingly, the people who own those companies are incredibly rich. You knew this was coming, right? We're going to stop for a break after this, but who thought for 1 second that I wouldn't talk about McLuhan in this, right? It's like the only thing that Will and I know about is Marshall McLuhan. So, all media are extensions of man. What we need to consider social media as is how does it extend us? And how does it alter our understanding of the world? But I wanted to replace the word alter with another word. How does it construct our understanding of the world? Because social media is so ubiquitous, so absolutely all-consuming in contemporary culture, that it doesn't alter anything. It is our understanding of the world. These hot mediums out there, which we use for everything, become our way of understanding the world itself. And understanding it without those things is almost impossible. In lecture 4 of this module, I'm going to use a quote from a Dutch theorist called Gert Loving. And what Loving says is deleting social media is about as plausible as deleting the roads. Now, think in your minds, could you get rid of all roads? Why not? Why couldn't we just get rid of the roads? What would happen?
Food. We wouldn't have food.
We'd have no food.
Yeah.
We'd starve.
Yeah.
Well, that
Well,
would
you
be
can't
unfortunate for some of
transport
us.
I believe also the point is that if you get rid of the road, there will be new ones coming back. Rather than saying if you get rid of them all the time.
Yeah. Imagine what a town would look like without roads.
Will be amazing.
What would you build things around? Well, how would it work? I don't know.
People will figure out a new way.
Would they?
Yeah, we will figure out a new way.
How do you know that?
Because people do it all the time.
No, they don't. No, that's not how history works. And social media has become such a fundamental part of our lives over the last 20 years that we are entering into a new historical dimension. You cannot actually think of the world without social media. It doesn't work. The world itself would not function without social media. How would you make friends? No, look at all of you in this room. Look at your body language. You're petrified to one another. You're all sitting like this. All everyone's shoulders are tucked in. Nobody, no different, you relax and all that shit, right? But you know, for most people in this room, it's just tension, tension, tension. Because you're in a room full of people that you kind of know or don't know. All you all want to do is wait for me to stop, so you can go on listening, right? Because that's your safe space. People aren't even contradicting me, because you know I'm right. Well, it might come out like it's negative, but it's not negative or positive, it just is. Okay, that's how we exist. That's not to say it's a good or a bad thing, it's a thing. We need to get it out of our heads that, you know, there's so much discussion in popular culture and in wider culture. Social media is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, it's a thing. The changes that it wrought, I mean, they could be seen as bad, they could also be seen as good. You know, people of my age have kids, right? I don't have kids because I fucking hate kids, right? People of my age have kids. And my kids, they don't go out. Do you remember when we were kids, we'd go out and do things? It's like, yeah, I'm really glad your kids don't go out, because like when we were kids, we used to set fire to shit all the time. You know, break into people's houses, you know, smash up cars. I don't think kids should do that kind of stuff, you know. I think, you know, kids are staying in and communicating with one another via applications. That sounds a lot safer to me than when I was a kid, you know, and was out sniffing glue and fucking, you know, whatever. that wasn't a good time, you know. We live in these times where it's like, well, kids should be outside. Why? Doing what?
You learn social skills from that. Like talking over.
Do you not learn social skills through social media?
Yes, but social etiquette, culture, you learn that through talking to people, interacting, but
Via social media?
as well as face to face.
And you still get face to face, right?
I just argue it's the same.
I'm not saying it's the same. And in fact, that's what I am saying. It's all different. Things are different. But it doesn't necessarily mean automatically different it's bad. It just means different. Now, if we do have considerable problems in society, you know, people can't relate to one another, they are having problems with relationships, you know, there are fundamental problems with the way that people interact and understand one another, and believe me, we will get into some of this, because there is ample evidence that that is happening. Let's not blame social media automatically. You know, society itself is wider than social media, but it is important to know that social media is a critical aspect of what society is. That's very important. Okay, let's take 5 minutes, because it is boiling in this room. Well, I do mean 5 minutes. 3, we start again.